When I was a kid, I was awful at video games. I mean, seriously terrible. I couldn't figure out the glide in Spyro the Dragon. I restarted Pokemon Sapphire about 1,000 times because I couldn't beat the Elite Four, even with Kyogre. I'd get those cheat code books from the Scholastic Book Fair just to be able to experience an entire game. I had to turn on the invincibility cheat in Star Wars Battlefront 2 all the time, otherwise dying would freak me out and I'd feel like I failed. Still have it memorized, by the way. Up, 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 left, down, 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 left, up, up, left, right. I couldn't figure out first-person shooter mechanics well, so I'd always use gravity hammers or be the driver when my brother and I played through Halo 3. Once I left Vault 101 in Fallout 3, I couldn't kill anything without using VATS. And in Skyrim, oh god. I was so desperate for help, even on novice difficulty, that I let myself be convinced by my brother that linen wraps would be super useful later on, and picked up every single one I could find in Bleak Falls Barrow. The point is, I was really bad at video games. I wanted to be good so badly. My brothers would play games in front of me and I'd just sit there wishing I could be a good enough player to try them out. Whenever they'd hand me a controller though, I'd freeze, I'd fumble it. Sure, I could 1v1 in Modern Warfare 2's Rust shotguns only, but I'd never win. The few points I'd score were through surprise or pity, never skill. Everything felt so overwhelming. Too much information on screen. I'd run around trying to get my bearings, trying to understand what I was seeing, what I needed to be doing when BAM! I'd be hit. Loud noise, red flash on screen, complete disorientation, all the ground I'd try to gain would be immediately lost. I'd panic. I'd swirl around looking for the source, but before I had a chance to recover, BAM! I'd already lost. I wanted to get better. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be capable of having as much fun as everyone else who played these games, but every time I tried, I'd be filled with panic, frustration, and fear. And the one thing I was afraid of most of all, boss fights. I want to clarify. It wasn't like every boss fight scared me so much that I couldn't beat it. In fact, I'd gotten through a lot of them as a kid. The problem was whenever I'd enter a boss room, doors shut behind you, scary music starts playing, all that, the fear and panic would take away the fun. Beating a boss didn't feel like an achievement, it felt like a relief. Fighting bosses didn't feel exhilarating, it just felt bad. Like watching a scary movie as a kid and realizing partway through that you're far too young to enjoy it, but knowing you can't just leave. All you do is wait for it to pass. Once it's over, you try to calm yourself down and finally get back to the things you actually find fun. Almost every boss fight would make me feel this way, and you can probably imagine how much that would impact my overall enjoyment of video games. How would you get over this fear? What steps would you take? You might say, fight more bosses. But believe me, when I was a kid, I tried. RuneScape's Demon Slayer quest, a simple quest where you gather 3 keys, get a magic sword, and, well, slay a demon with it, terrified me. And that wasn't helped by the fact that the dark wizards in that fight kept weakening me before I even had a chance to fight the demon. I died probably half a dozen times before I beat that quest. And if you know RuneScape, you know that's an easy quest. Dragon Slayer? I beat Elvarg on my first try, but only because I overleveled and overprepared. Even then, I was completely out of food by the time the fight ended. RuneScape combat isn't even hard. You just click on the monster, watch your character attack, and eat when your health gets low. Yes, I know it gets more complex later, but it wasn't like that back then, especially not in free-to-play. Whatever. Maybe RuneScape bosses aren't the way to get better then. Not involved enough, maybe. If the combat's too simple, do I really feel like I beat the boss? And at this point, you may be thinking, Jank, didn't you also play Monster Hunter as a kid? Isn't that a hard game? And to that, I'd say, yes, it is a hard game, and I did play it as a kid, But the closest I ever got to beating something big in Monster Hunter Freedom was the first Cut Coup. Even the first Velociprey quest scared me. I wasn't able to beat anything harder than that until high school. So no, Monster Hunter didn't help either. If Velociprey scared me as much as any boss fight, I probably wasn't going to make it very far. Maybe I need to try something easier then. What about The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time? Gorgeous world, beautiful music, and hey, you even start as a kid. How bad could it be? What's that? What the hell is that? That's the first boss? Goma? The weird, freaky spider thing that hides from you on the ceiling? How am I supposed to get over a fear of boss fights when this is what I'm up against? Alright. Goma's beaten. At least the next one won't be... Jesus Christ! Okay, moving on. The boss fight in Jabu Jabu's belly. Didn't feel that bad, to be honest, but the entire dungeon itself felt like one big boss fight. I really didn't like this area as a kid, but hey, I made it through the beginning of the game. Time to check out the rest of the game after the time travel bit, right? No, I'm actually not doing that. Forest Temple. What? What? Come on. I actually hate this one. The Water Temple is not that bad. I actually had a lot of fun in it as a kid, but this fucking fight, God awful. But I got it. So let's see what the next one will be. Confession. As a kid, I could never beat Bongo Bongo. I quit the game here. I didn't actually go back and finish it until years later, when I played it on the 3DS. Ocarina of Time ended up not only not helping me get over a fear of boss fights, but it actually reinforced that fear. So, what did help? How did I eventually get over it? It's almost Christmas for 7th grade me. I pick a game that I think looks fun, one that I picked for myself, and not one recommended by friends or family. I ask for it, I wait for Christmas Day, and open it up, and there, in the middle of a tundra of torn and crumpled paper, is my savior. The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass for the Nintendo DS. Something about this control scheme worked for me where not many other games did. Walking around by dragging the stylus felt fine, and attacking by either tapping on the enemy or swiping the stylus in a sword swipe motion felt really natural. Combat was involved enough where I felt like my inputs were making an impact, but being limited to touch controls prevented fights from being too overwhelming. Also, it's a pirate game. You got to build and customize your little ship, travel the ocean, fight enemy ships, discover secrets, find treasure. It's great. Whenever I felt like I needed a break from the main story, there was so much available to me that I really enjoyed. It's kind of a Wind Waker sequel, so if you like the Toon Link art style and are okay with trying out an older handheld Zelda with touch controls, I actually do recommend it. Now, I'm not going to go through every boss fight in this game like I did with Ocarina of Time, because honestly, there's only one boss fight that I need to talk about here. If you haven't played this nearly 20-year-old game and want to go into it without knowing story spoilers, I guess stop watching here. I'm going to spoil the final boss, but I don't think knowing about this boss is going to ruin the game for you. Most Zelda games aren't super story heavy, and the story isn't usually the main appeal anyway. So, you've gotten to the end of the Temple of the Ocean King, where you fight Bellum, the main antagonist for the game. You beat him, escape the temple, and unfreeze Tetra from her cursed statue form. Easy! Except, Bellum isn't really defeated. He escapes, summoning a giant ghost ship that you and Linebeck, your ship's captain and your traveling companion from most of the game, have to defeat. Once you've taken down the ghost ship, though, Bellum attacks Linebeck, corrupting him and turning him into the final boss of the game. The music here is phenomenal. A remix of Linebeck's main theme made into a sinister boss battle song. Genuinely one of my favorite pieces of Zelda music, fully because of how important this moment was for me. Not only was I at the final boss of the game, but this was Linebeck, my friend, kinda. He's been with me the whole story, and now I had to face off against him to beat Bellum. I know this is a common trope in games, the friend you had along the way turns out to be the final boss somehow, but this was the first time I experienced this, and in a game I chose for myself. That fear was there, screaming at me, asking, what if you can't do it? What if you're not good enough? What if after everything you've done so far, you can't beat it? What if you have to throw away everything you've worked for, just like you did with all of those other games you were never able to beat? My fear of boss fights was rooted in shame and insecurity. Shame around never having been good enough to truly beat a final boss like this, to truly test if everything I've done up to that point was for something. And insecurity about whether or not I'd be good enough this time. Except, this time, I wasn't doing it to be as good at games as my brothers. I wasn't doing it to impress anyone at school. Hell, I wasn't even doing it to impress myself. I was doing it for Linebeck. So I try. And I fail. And I try again. And again. And again, and again, and again. Linebeck's sinister boss theme ringing in my ears. I try for hours, each time failing, but each time getting just a little bit closer. I learn the mechanics, I learn his telegraphs, and I fail. And then I beat it. I beat it. I won. After all that, Linebeck was saved too. I beat a game. I picked a game for myself and saw it through to the end. I proved to myself that I could beat games, that I could beat bosses, and that I could beat a final boss. Even if it seemed really difficult at first, Phantom Hourglass may not be the best video game ever made. It may not even be in my top 10, but it might be one of the most important games I've ever played. Because it was the first game that was truly mine. I still have that copy of the game, even if I lost the original case years ago. Actually, let me see if I can find it. Aha! There, see? There it is. When I talk to people about what games make you better at video games, I tell them to play Sekiro. Because that's the game that took me from being okay at games to actually feeling competent and capable of handling whatever a game throws at me. But when I talk about how to get over that fear, that shame, that insecurity about never being good enough at video games, I can't always give a solid recommendation. I think to truly start that journey, to find a way to overcome that fear, to get to a point where you can pick up a game and believe you can complete it if you try, you have to pick something out for yourself. For me, that was Phantom Hourglass. But it probably won't be that for you. If you've ever had a game that was as important to your growth in enjoying this art form as Phantom Hourglass was to me, please comment below for me and others to see, and to maybe help others who are struggling to enjoy games find something to love. For Lineback. Thanks for watching.